and their actors.
Sam,
Jessie, Maggie,
Christina.
With a K.
So our case study focuses on depression on college campuses. We've noticed that a lot of people feel really depressed because of stress, extracurriculars, work, but it's really common for students not to feel comfortable seeking help because they feel embarrassed or they're not sure what options are available. So we're going to try and find some sort of solution to kind of help that.
Okay, well, so I did, in some of the research that I was doing, there was a study done, an annual study by Penn State, and one of the reports said that counseling center utilization has increased 5 to 6 times the rate of the institutional rate enrollment, and basically, oh sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. I just started reading the wrong one. Someone else like it collected?
It's okay.
Sure. So I just had, when I was doing my research, I ended up looking up, because I wanted to see how severe this problem was. Just being exposed to lots and lots of different types of people, you kind of get a sense that this is a big problem, but I didn't realize until I started researching just how severe a problem it could be. So there was a survey conducted by Hunt and Eisenberg for the Journal of Adolescent Health, and they studied 26 different colleges, and they found that out of those colleges, overall 17% of the students there tested positive for depression. Now that's just here in the US. There was a Nigerian medical journal, and they found that out of their 308 participants, they had depression. They saw depression in 79.2% of their students, and some of that might be because the World Health Organization has sort of pointed out that depression is the 3rd most prevalent disability, like all over the world, but it's even more prevalent amongst people who are younger and low income, which students tend to fall into.
And I found something from the National Institute of Mental Health that the anxiety among U.S. aged adults ages 18 and older, it's an estimated 19.1% of U.S. adults have anxiety disorder in the past year, and also from the National Institute of Mental Health. Past year, there's no date on it. The past year prevalence of the anxiety disorder is higher in females by 23.4% than males, that is 14.3%.
To go off of that, I also found a really interesting statistic from Fusion 2017, and it talks about how the number of college students that have purposely injured themselves by cutting or some other form of self-harm rose it rose to 26% in the year of 2015, and it used to be 21% in 2010. And also in that same time period, the percentage rose from 23.8% to 33.2% of college students that really contemplated committing suicide.
To sort of piggyback on that, the American College Health Association actually did some studies, and they found that, that only like 24% of people who got diagnosed were even seeking treatment, and the Hunt-Eisenberg study noticed that, the wrong study. Silverman, Meyer, and Sloan did a study in 1997 that had encompassed 10 years of research, and they figured out that while females were more likely to present, female students, because they were specifically studying college students, females were more likely to show those symptoms, but males were more likely to attempt suicide. Yeah.
So the statistic that I thought I was reading was, it's from Penn State, and it said over the last 5 years, counseling center utilization has increased by an average of 30 to 40%, while enrollment has only increased by 5. So that means that more and more students are needing services, and they're having a hard time providing it for all their students. And those are just the students that know about them to go in. And then in an article that was written by University of Washington Eckert, nearly 4 out of 5 college students report that emotional distress impacts their academic performance, basically meaning that students are now starting to suffer in school because they don't feel emotionally supported. And really, trying to figure out not only how to help them, but like why that is happening is also like a concern. Why is it all of a sudden that, are there more responsibilities? Is there like, because like the tuition and things are going up, and students are having to work, students are having more complicated lives, students are, having to support themselves and things like that. And like, why is it so much worse now than it used to be?
One study I found from Adam Schick, 2006, according to 14.9% reported feeling depression after they drank, and 8.5% felt that drinking made them feel worse.
To go off of that, I found 2 different articles, one by Bohem and one by Pederelli, and they both kind of talk about how it's like a cycle. A lot of college students that are depressed are trying to self-medicate with tobacco and alcohol and smoking weed, but it just causes them to be even more depressed because those are downers. And then the depression just gets worse, but they think it's going to help, so then they just cycle back and keep trying to self-medicate themselves.
To piggyback on kind of what Sam was saying earlier, you were kind of speculating why this seems to be becoming more prevalent, it was, I didn't actually do this research, but I was thinking about how growing up as a millennial, things seemed so sort of easy, and then we had that big old crash in 2008, and so in general, but since then it feels like being able to afford school, especially here in the Bay Area, is just so much harder. And the Hunt Eisenberg study in 2010 pointed out that it's more common, the depression is more common among students with relationship stressors, low social support, or victimization by sexual violence, and also in those lower socioeconomic statuses. So if you can't pay for things and you're having a hard time socially, you're even more likely to be depressed and turn to self-medicating.
Yeah, I actually did some of the research on, there was an article called Anxiety Statistics on College Campuses, and it kind of went over a few things that they thought or that they did studies on, and then it really had to do with that, is that now that it said concerns about the sagging economy and poor job future projects for college graduates cause a lot of anxiety, and financial pressures caused by student or family debt and skyrocketing costs of university education. So basically, I think we've all kind of heard the thing where they say now like a 4-year degree is basically a high school graduation. So the expectation is now you have to elongate the more expensive education. You have to go even longer, and then you're like, okay, well, what are my options now? Because it's even harder in our economy to find a job, and it's just hopeless.
Exactly.
And the expectations are way up here, and the actual like what you're getting out of it is way down here, whereas it used to be more level.
Yeah, and that doesn't really help even. No matter what age you are in this sort of college system, if you're younger, you feel that pressure to get through it as quickly as you can because you know how expensive it is, but then you're putting so much pressure on yourself. And once you've gotten a little older, you start feeling a little pressure from maybe external forces and other people in your life that maybe you're behind, and now you're just racking up more and more debt.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And I interviewed, I went to the Student Health Center, and I interviewed George Majalis. He's a licensed marriage and family therapist, and he's a supervisor there. And he was just saying that, talking about how hard it is now, like when he went to school, there was so much more available in the schools. There wasn't so much that you had to do. Now, people are in high school, they're looking at the schools they have to go to, and they stress out because there's so much competition now. And he also said that they have great resources at the Student Health Center. They do screening for ADHD, bipolar, anxiety, and depression. And they also do counseling there. They have, he's licensed, he's got 6 interns that are doing their hours there.
Do you happen to ask him like what is available to the students? Like, do you get a free allotted counseling treatments per term?
He says that a lot of the interns, like he does it, and then they have 4 interns there that are from all different universities. They're there doing their hours, and they come in, they evaluate them. Some of them, they get to take them to a form to DESP. And I talked to Cheryl Miller, the coordinator and learning specialist at the DESP, and she had told me that people with physical and mental health issues can come and get accommodations like on their tests. If they can't make it to class, they talk to the, it's already in their folder, so when the teacher sees it and says, hey, I can't make it, then that's what they'll accommodate for, but they won't accommodate homework and stuff. And then also he told me that they have this great kiosk up in the cafeteria called Mind Care.
Yeah.
And it's confidential, and you go on there and it's an interactive screen, and you push these buttons, so like if you say you're sad, it'll take you to depression. If you say you're anxious about something, it'll talk to you about depression. And then also they have a button for like suicide. So if you're suicide, it lets them know over there. So then they'll tell you to go over there. And they said it's free to anybody. Anybody can walk in, and
It's such great stuff, and I saw on the school's website that, you know, this stuff is included in our student fees.
exactly.
But from talking to friends, so I had a little sit-down chat interview with a couple of my friends that both have told me specifically that they suffer from anxiety and depression. And one of them mentioned all these great support services because he actually uses the counselors. He goes there, he makes appointments, he knows how to use them. The other one had zero idea those existed. And so there's a general lack of awareness, even, you know, people who spend all the time together.
Yeah, and then going off of that, George Magellas had told me about Active Minds, which is a social club here for anxiety and depression. And they just go and they meet people and they get to know everybody. And so.
We're going to have 12 minutes, guys, so we might move on to the next.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Unless there was anything anyone else wanted to add in there.
So I guess just to sum up, we see this as a problem and we want to raise awareness, and now we just need to brainstorm ideas on how to not only raise awareness, but actually enact change.
Yeah, do something.
Okay.
I found over there in the Catholic Center, there's a kiosk called NAMI, N-A-M-I, the national organization. Has a local chapter in Silicon Valley, and it's a blue kiosk, and they have a lot of resources about anxiety, depression, eating disorders, whatever. And you can go there and get the pamphlet and look at the times.
The times for
The times that you can look at the times for like what they're having at their location, the classes.
So how would that be, like, do you mean like we would like maybe make more attention to that, like maybe, or, because that's something that someone's already done,
Have they?
right? Oh, no, I'm saying, because there's the NAMI kiosk, right?
Yeah,
so does
yeah.
that mean like we would, are you saying like we would bring attention to it more?
Just to let people know, I guess. About
So yeah, I
it.
guess raising awareness about that.
Sorry, I just want to clarify, I was a little confused.
Sorry.
Did you have a suggestion at all, Sam?
I had a couple of them, definitely. So one of my friends goes to San Jose State, and she said a few weeks ago they had this thing where they had a bunch of dogs brought to campus during like finals weeks, and they like put them in the campus common area, and people can just come pet them and play with them. And so I did research, and there's actually a company called Pet Hugs, and it's out of Berkeley, and they do that. The first Tuesday every month at Berkeley, they have therapy dogs in their campus center. And people come play with them. It says it makes them feel better, and there's all kinds of research on animals and how it makes you feel better. So maybe contacting that company and seeing if we could get that here, maybe even just once, like 2 weeks before finals or something, and have come play with puppies. You're not just having to study. Or having another idea I had was making a day where during like lunchtime we could communicate, coordinate with the mental health services, like the gentleman you interviewed, and have them come out and meet and greet and us arrange like a booth so that they people can see exactly who's available to them, and they're not real people, or they are real people. It's not an office, it's not these flyers, it's not as embarrassing.
Right,
It's
exactly.
open and inviting, and like maybe play music or something like that, like just a lunch day club thing.
That's actually very similar to something I actually wrote down for my suggestions, which was figure out how to help with the tabling at the student center, because I walked past it. It was in the dark. It was just flyers. There were no people. I was like, did people even look? So yeah, the table, maybe tabling with them or workshopping with them, just to raise that awareness, because a lot of people go to the student center for food and such. No idea that the mental health services are there.
Yeah. And then an idea that I don't know how like effective it would really be, but setting up like kind of like a buddy system. Like people can give like their email information, and then they can be anonymously partnered up with someone that's going through similar things. And then they're able to email each other and talk about it. And then there's no like fear of judgment because you're both feeling that way. And then maybe after like a few months and you guys feel comfortable, you can actually meet and then see this real person that's talking to you.
Something that got done that I thought you could potentially replicate was last term when I was in the curse, the director coordinated to be able to fundraise, to raise money for, I think it was either for Active Minds or for the mental health center. We sold roses at them because our show was very much about the main character's like divide, trying to war with himself on whether or not to basically commit suicide. It was very allegorical, but he did that to raise awareness, and we ended up raising about $300. Maybe we could do some fundraising. Our show Neverwhere also has a scene in it where the main character is grappling with suicidal thoughts, so maybe we could coordinate with the ushers or something like that. We know Laura, who is the head at the theater department. She might be able to help hook us up with that.
Check it out. Support somebody and go with them. Want to go? Right.
I was also thinking that maybe we could find teachers who would be willing to let us like come in during class time and also advertise the different services that are offered here at school, because there's a lot here, but like a lot of people don't know about it.
I also thought maybe creating a club or kind of campus support group that meets like weekly, and that way you are meeting people that are going to school with you and going through the same stuff, but it's not as intimidating as going in a one-on-one, and it could just be kind of like a let's talk about our stuff together and meet, you know, like once a week like that, and you don't have to come every week, you can come if you want, and it also will help people know what else is aware out there for it.
Did you say there was something like that? Active Minds?
It's
Is
a
that
social club.
It's a social club, so maybe coordinate with them to talk about weekly, like,
And
sessions.
make people, teach people, like make flyers and show people that that's actually right here on campus or
Yeah,
something.
because, and there are lots of bulletins all over the campus, but I don't even remember how many of those I've seen.
I was also thinking that we could look into partnering with the health services department that's here and maybe organize some sort of event.
And on that note, I was thinking about, does anyone remember the clothesline project that happened not that long ago, like a month ago? So by the student center, they had students who had been subject to different types of abuse. They could like write on a t-shirt and it got hung up on a clothesline that stretched from the student center to like the veterans center. Maybe we could talk to the vets about that too, but maybe some sort of project where we create a visible, tangible thing that people with anxiety or depression can contribute to. Whether it's like, if you, I researched really quickly like mental illness awareness or depression awareness, and there were lots of pictures of trees, maybe like leaves or something where people can write on them and see that they are not the only ones going through this.
Oh, that would be good. Something like that.
Did anyone else have one more?
The mind care,
Mind care?
you know, the kiosk with the computer screen.
So, what would we do with that? Would that be similar to with like the other kiosks where
awareness to
trying to spread awareness
Yeah.
with that? Maybe also mic here. Randomly, my dad actually helped me come up with one of my suggestions, which was figure out a way to educate people on ways to cope with depression and anxiety, because my dad had to go through that when he lost his eyesight, and he figured out like changes in his diet and exercise and such, which sometimes we as students who are younger take for granted, can, maybe learn more about that.
Yeah. Get that one down, and then we are at 20 minutes, so we should probably consensus pretty quickly here.
Does anyone have anything they feel pretty strongly about?
I like the fundraising and the clothesline
Buddy system was pretty cool. I don't know how we'd implement that, but I really like that idea because it's a way to like connect with people without necessarily having to speak face to face, because that can also create some anxiety if you're maybe a little more introverted.
Yeah.
So as far as the clothesline project, I was thinking if we mesh that together with the coordinating with mental health services table, I like that because like on the
Yeah.
walls,
I
like at
that.
stores and grocery stores like that, you see like the Make-A-Wish and you can
Exactly,
see so what
yeah.
if we were to get a wall one day behind the booth and have people write different things, and just even if they left it up there for a week, people would be walking by it and
Exactly.
seeing it. And then you could have the poster of what's available, so
Yeah.
it's not even that one day, but if we could get like a space somewhere in the center and coordinate both those ideas together, because you're right, seeing it in front of your face and seeing how many people are affected by this, I think would really make more people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I really like the reaching out to the health services, because my director before, he had said that they feel like people don't know enough about it, and the fact that they got a donation was like mind-blowing to them. So this could be really big. Maybe if we did fundraising while we do that or something, we could coordinate for that and have something tangible for them to see. Hey, look, people are paying more attention.
Okay.
I like the dogs though too.
I know, that would be so
I'm more
fun.
than willing to, we can all definitely call them and see if I don't know what it would entail to get them to come to a community college, but
Yeah.
definitely if that was possible, I mean, I think that's a fantastic idea. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, we could at the very least, we could just look and ask.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I think something very practical for us would be doing the tabling with the clothesline project and maybe figuring out how to fundraise simultaneously.
Okay,
I think so.
Live with that?
I like that.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good.